Digital documents are cheaper to create, easy to store, and offers extensive analysis opportunity. Then what is it which is holding us back? Let's hear from panel of session 5, Impact of EMR in Nursing and Clinical Management. To chair this session, we have Dr. Nagendra Swamy, SC, Founder Chairman, Medisync Health Management Services. Prior to this, he was Group Medical Director, Senior President and Chairman, Quality Council at MHE. Mr. Swamy has over 36 years of rich experience in healthcare management. He has been the recipient of Doctor's Day Award, Dr. B.C. Roy Award by Government of Karnataka, Distinguished Alumni by Manipal University, President FHA Karnataka, and Patron CAHO, and the list is long. Shall now move to introduction of our speakers. First speaker is Dr. Kedar Toraskar, Director Critical Care, Wokhad Hospital, South Mumbai, a distinguished clinician, critical care and pulmonology specialist with over 23 years experience in the field, with multiple national and international publications to his credit. A senior instructor and course director of American Heart Association ACLS and BLS courses, also IDCCM instructor. Welcome. With this, I welcome all the esteemed panelists and hand over the session to the chair to take it forward.
Thank you, Bhavisha. Thanks for the introduction. Today's topic is impact of EMR in clinical management. At the outset, to put the context, EMR is the first and the most important step in all our ambitious digital journey, be it AI, IoT, virtual or augmented reality, or remote monitoring. Without EMR, there is no step forward. All evidence-based decision-making, patient safety, learning, course correction, alert rising, all this happens only if EMR is properly and effectively functioning. Here, there are two arms of the clinical management, doctors and nurses. Today, we have very eminent speakers who have spent decades in their respective fields to share their views on what are all impact that EMR has brought in their respective fields and what do they find as very interesting learning over the years. Or why in India we are not yet moving at the pace that we should be moving for EMR implementation. There are three parts to EMR. There is a clinical part, there is a admin part, there is a financial part. Whereas medical record will be only on a clinical part, whereas hospital information system, HIS, will have other aspects. Now over to Dr. Kedar, please.
Thanks, Dr. Swamy, for the modest introduction. Okay, so in the next 15 minutes or so, I'm going to talk about the clinical aspects of electronic medical records, especially and their impact on nursing and clinical care. So basically, I work in a tertiary care ICU in Wokhad in South Mumbai, and obviously there are pros and cons of using the EMR. So let's go to the history quickly. Since the passage of the Health Information Technology for Economics and Health Clinical in 2009 in the US, advancement in the technology of the electronic health records have dramatically increased. And this also included incentives that provide reimbursement to the hospitals and healthcare provider practices for adopting the certified EHR technology and meeting meaningful use requirement. Now, Dr. Swamy was mentioning one reason why it has not picked up in India. Maybe those incentives are still not there in India. They have not been translated here. Now, what are the other potential barriers we have? Obviously, lack of computer skills, no longer really valid because all of us, because of the smartphone revolution, most of our staff and most of our colleagues are well adapted in computer skills. But yes, in a small percentage of patients, it does matter. Now, a high cost. Not all the hospitals across India can afford the EMR services, especially small nursing homes may not be able to afford it. You have security concerns, you have workflow issues. Okay, it may not be compatible with one system. You have time issues. One study showed that the nursing time actually increased. The nurses and the staff complained that the time involved in doing putting on in the medical records the data is much more than writing. Okay, there are no uniform EMR systems in all the hospitals. You may have different systems for different things, like uh, imaging and lab systems may have a different interface or a system, and they may not be universally used by all clinicians and staff. That's the other problem. You have certain visiting staffs or visiting doctors who say that no, we are not adapt to this, we don't know how to use it, and they end up writing on their notes instead of using the electronic medical record. And you may have duplication of data also. So you have one patient being enrolled as Kedar Thoraskar, or it may be K Thoraskar, or it may be Dr. Thoraskar. So there may be duplication of data. So these may be some potential barriers as to why it has not picked up as well as the Western countries in India. What are key challenges specific to critical care? There is no, first and foremost, is there's no continuum of care between the ICU and the OT. So we have a huge chunk of patients who come from the OR, okay, those critically ill who require supra-major surgery and who come to the OT, like in the surgical ICU. Now, the continuum of care between the ICU and the OT is not great. Monitoring of nurses and adherence to the protocols are not ensured. There's no analysis of patient data done to provide valuable information on the response to evidence-based treatment or evidence-based medicine. No aggregation of information on a common platform. Obviously, there is dearth of certified intensivists and doctors, especially at times of avid expansion of corporate hospitals. And this was very commonly seen in our COVID scenario in the last 18 to 19 months. No central monitoring of the ICUs, handling mortalities and ensuring relative angst and lawsuits. So documentation is required. And of course, quality management and accreditations. You have NABH, you have JCI, you have other accreditations, and last but not the least is data security. So these are two key challenges in critical care. So what do you do? So you have situations where you are in the ED and you require documentation and loads of documentation. Or you may be in the OR and you require loads and loads of documentation. Or in the ICU where I work. So it's a high volatile situation where you require documentation every time, and it's very critical. So clinical documentation includes vital sign monitoring, ventilatory and anesthesia data documentation. You require multiple assessments. Sometimes the assessments are every 5 minutes. Okay, you require different orders. The orders may not be the same as in the morning rounds. They may change. So because it's a dynamic situation in the ICU, medication administration records are very frequently have to be noted. Notes and consultations have to be noted. And there are close time intervals. There's very high time pressure. Consolidating data from the lab HIS system, the lab's information system, the high documentation load. So almost 30 to 50% of the working time is spent in documentation, and that keeps on increasing. So if you have manual records, which we had in the past, it becomes very difficult. Now, this is a breakup. This was presented from the AIMS study, in which the ICU nursing workload was attributed to patient care only in 48% of times. Okay, but the rest of the time was spent in documentation, as high as 26% here, unit related 9.4, and personal was 15.2. So the major chunk of the nursing workload was not involved in patient care. 50% was involved in other things, and 26% was involved in documentation. So let's come to what are the challenges faced by the nurses. Okay, so let's look at some basic challenges in critical care. You have tedious charting. Patient care is very stringent. You have multiple assessment. It can be as much as every 15 minutes. You have to follow up the labs. There's a disconnection between the OR and the ICU and the other unit. You have exhaustive handovers in which you can have errors. Okay, and you have lack of single interface. So that's the problem. So there is no single interface. You may have different systems for different departments. So with paper documentation, different files exist for different cares, hindering information flow. you need to keep the data for almost 5 to 10 years for the most recent encounter. If it is a medical legal case, it has to be kept for a longer time. So that's a problem. And this was when we were students. We had manual case records like this. So one of the major and obvious benefit is legibility. So if you ask any one of our doctor colleagues that historically illegible handwriting has been a prime source of medication error, and in one source, more than 60% of the medication errors in the hospital were attributed to poor writing, and I am not an exception. So a lot of times when we write, it is literally illegible. So other benefits include managing medications through an EHR improves the patient outcome over time. It reduces the adverse drug events by almost 52%. Some are designed to integrate with barcode scanning technologies, which is now picking up. And if a nurse scans the wrong medicine, an alert pops up and alerting him or her to the problem that this is a wrong medication. So that prevents error at the source itself. So critical lab values have to be reported to the healthcare provider in a timely manner, and the EHR or the EMR flags each critical value for clinical staff, making notification simpler for the nurses. It also helps clinicians to determine when to repeat the lab test. So if I have a critical value of potassium, which is 7.5, and I have to tell the nurse that, okay, you have to repeat it in this time. So you get a pop-up in the electronic medical records automatically. So the things become easy in the EMR. So other facts, the nursing staff are primarily responsible for the patient care, but classically a significant amount of their time is spent on the administrative tasks also, which I just described in the previous slide. And few studies have shown that 47% of the nurses' time is spent on administrative tasks and documentation. This was a Chinese study which was published. Of course, decrease in the charting time for nurses will eventually lead to a better quality of care and better patient outcome, which is logical, which will help in better resource utilization in critical care units. So this is very, very important. This is where the role of EMR comes into picture. Now we have a system called as ICA system, which stands for Interface Critical Care and Anesthesia System. In other words, it's the software solution which leads to paperless ICU and OT with all the patient data available on one screen for a better decision making. So you may have different systems in different parts of India or different parts of the world, but this is a system which we are using for the last 6.5 years, and it is really good. Meaning it has changed the way we work. So you have monitors, you have the bedside monitors, you have the central monitors, and you have you have bedside devices. So each bedside device, suppose you have a ventilator or a bedside monitor, the central monitor, you have a syringe pump, you have other devices like your intra-aortic balloon pump. All those devices are connected to the system and ultimately to the ICA server, which goes to the ICA client. And this data is automatically collimated and you get it on the bedside monitor as well as the central monitor. So this is our cubicle, ICU cubicle. You have the ventilator here. That's the ICA screen here. Okay, the nurse works here at the bedside, and all these equipments are connected to the ICA server, which goes to the ICA client, and ultimately the data is automatically collimated. So you get the data from the monitor, you get the data from the ventilator, you get the data from the syringe pumps, you get the data from the intra-aortic balloon pumps, you name it, and you get all the data without having to document it manually. So that's how ICA helps. So how now you have the patient data, so it improves the completeness and accuracy of documentation and reduces the time spent on documentation. And to archive the patient data for at least 5 years, you have an efficient system to improve the data accuracy through the auto flow of the parameters. So you don't the parameters are automatically captured by the ICA system. And of course, the standard anesthesia and ICU documentation provides complete audit trail. So if a patient is operated or a patient, for example, a patient undergoes a CABG and the CABG patient comes to you, I as a critical care specialist or our critical care nurse automatically gets the data from the OT, from the OR, what happened intraoperatively, what happened preoperatively, what was given intraoperatively, what were the complications. Automatically, that data is captured in the ICU itself and the continuum of care is maintained. And of course, you have access To assist in implementation of evidence-based guidelines and aiding in protocol adherence, we have this access to the HR system, the lab information system in the ICA. So it is clubbed with the other information systems. So that's the advantage. So you have data collection, you have data analysis and presentation, and finally that helps in making decisions. So this is where our EMR system helps. So clinical protocols, advisories, reporting, and data documentation can be done. So step one is the system gathers all the data from the bedside devices in a continuous manner and offers a seamless interoperability between the hospital IT infrastructure. So it connects the monitors, the ventilators, the anesthesia machines, the infusion pumps, and so on and so forth. So this is how it does. I won't go into the details of this because it's a technical thing, but this is how it helps us to collimate the data. Now the second step is the ICA presents the data in an actionable manner. It reduces the time spent in finding information and enables evidence-based care. So clinical documentation is done by auto charting. The notes, the notes and the forms are all in one place. Okay, you have scores like Apache, Prism, SOFA, etc. Whatever scores you want, it can give it to you. So it basically centralizes and organizes patient data. This includes the admission documents, the vital signs, the labs, the consulting notes, and all the information you want is in the front. So by automating critical care data, it reduces the time needed to collect information, enhances efficiency, and lets caregivers being vigilant in patient care. Now, this was the AIMS study, which showed that there was a significant reduction in the charting time, as much as 30% when the charting was done through the ICA system instead of manually by the critical care nurses. And that's a big time. Okay. So total average time spent during charting and documenting the ICU activities electronically using the ICA or the EMR was almost 269 seconds. Now, again, it also saved time in charting. It was observed that there was a reduction of 30% reduction in the time when calculating the scoring systems, especially the Apache system using the ICA system. So this is how a paper-based ICU flowchart looks like. Okay, a clutter here, and this is how it goes in the ICU. When we worked 7 years back with the manual systems, it looked exactly like this. And this is how our flow sheet looks like now. So it's a systematized flow sheet, and the data is auto captured. The nurse does not have to enter any data, it is auto captured. So that's the beauty of the system. You save a lot of time in that. So the nurse can devote that time, the doctors can devote time to patient care, and the outcomes obviously are good. So this is how the paper-based vital signs look like, and this is how ICA looks like, or EMR looks like. This was the paper-based ventilator data. Even the ventilator data is auto-captured, so you don't have to write anything. Okay, it's automatically captured. You don't have to document anything, and it is real time. So that's an excellent example. So you can go back to any time interval and find out what went wrong. Okay, the saturation of the patient dropped this time, and these were the settings. What was wrong? What could have been done better in the hindsight? So this was a manual intake out previously, and now we have this customized ICA chart or the EMR chart. This was a manual medication order, and of course, this is a medication order which looks like this right now. Okay, so errors related to medications also have come down dramatically by using this. Of course, the medication orders uh, in different systems can be different, so you have to have a uniform system for the ICU as well as the medication orders also. So initially we had a different system, but now we have a common system. So manual handwritten progress notes look like this. Okay, so my handwriting also looks similar, and this is completely illegible. Okay, but now you have the system in which we have templates for physician progress notes, and of course you have drop downs, so your work becomes easy. So you have drop down, so you don't have to do much writing work also, or transcription work also. This is how the remote desktop looks like, the lab data looks like. So you can collimate the lab data also serially. Okay, that's very important. And of course, you can add any clinical scoring system. So you can have Apache, you can have SOFA, you name it, and you can have it. Suppose you don't have a scoring system which you want, you can add it. So that's the beauty of the EMR here, that you can modify that EMR. So you can modify, you can add any of the scoring systems. Suppose you have your own scoring system in your hospital, you can add it. For example, we didn't have an NIH scoring system initially, so we added it. For example, during COVID time, we wanted to add a news 2 score for COVID severity. We added the COVID news 2 score and we added our COVID protocol. So that is how it goes. Of course, you can capture any event. You have an arrhythmia, you can capture that event. You have a bed sore, you can document that bed sore serially. So that's the beauty of the system here again. And of course, last but not the least is the patient summary here. You can have a good patient summary and a discharge summary. Okay, so you can collimate all the data which is in the system and you can have a discharge summary. It really helps for medical legal cases also. So because your data is well collimated. Last but not the least is proactive clinical decision making and support and analysis. So this is what really helps when you have a EMR system like this. Now you have data filters, you have application bundles, like you have all ICU bundles, you have a WAP bundle, you have a CLAPC bundle, you have a SSI bundle. So this can be incorporated in your EMR. So this is what I was talking about. So we have all these bundles. You have a glucose management bundle, you have a sepsis resuscitation bundle, DVT bundle, 40 bundle, WAP bundle, and you can add your own studies also. You can add your own protocols also in this. So reporting also is very, very useful. So clinical business intelligence allows clinicians to perform their own data analysis. You can know the length of the stay, you can know the mortality, the bed occupancy, the device utilization, quality control protocols. So that helps the administrators also in knowing what is there. For example, you have a WAP incidence and compliance chart. So we know that the WAP bundle compliance was so much and the WAP incidence was so much. So if the compliance was really good, the WAP rates were really low here. But if the compliance was poor, the WAP rates went up. So this is how you can collimate the data here. Now, EMR produces a huge economic benefit to all the hospitals. So EMR helps to standardize and automate documentation, evidence-based care. It reduces medical errors. It enhances compliance. It adds to the flexibility and obviously reduces the cost. So I end here.
Thank you, Kedar. It was very, very what should I say, with a clear-cut example and with the pictures, it was very obvious what the advantages that the EMR can give. But all I would like to say is necessity is mother of invention. We cannot wait. It has to happen no matter how it happens. And end users and the cohesive development is the key to the EMR success. Thank you very much. Thank you once again, CAHO Tech Leadership